Hi, this is Cheryl Gallant, your Conservative Member of Parliament for the Walleye riding of Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke. The government has moved into overdrive with forcing through bad laws. Listen to what they've been up to. During the 2015 election, Justin Trudeau made an immature and inappropriate comment about Stephen Harper whipping out his fighter jets to show how tough he is. Trudeau was trying to paint conservatives as evil warmongers and the Liberals as kind-hearted lovers of peace. That is the excuse, as Prime Minister, Trudeau used to call back the Canadian fighter jets from Iraq in 2016. They had been sent to Iraq to provide air cover for our troops on the ground fighting ISIS. He replaced the jets all NATO countries in Iraq depended on with a new mission. Trudeau deployed soldiers to train Iraqis on the basics of modern warfare. Those trainers soon learned how the people they were training treated the people they conquered. The trainees bragged to our soldiers, showing their Canadian trainers videos depicting torture, executions, and rape. Those are violations of the laws of armed conflict. Our soldiers reported it to their commanders. They were concerned over helping to train war criminals. The commanders on the ground told them not to watch the videos. Commanders told the soldiers they were asking for direction from Ottawa. The direction from Ottawa never arrived. So the soldiers carried out the orders to train rapists, torturers, and murderers how to be more effective at modern warfare. The issue was again reported to commanders after returning home to Canada. No response. Another report was submitted. Finally, they were told those types of things, seeing videos of atrocities being conducted, were to be expected in a war zone. So on Monday, I asked the Minister of Defense about the reports, and he claimed it was the first he'd heard about it. Now, that's the same response he gave when allegations of sexual misconduct against the Chief of Defense Staff surfaced. Testimony demonstrated the minister was told about the Chief of Defense Staff 3 years before it broke in the news. We now know the allegations of sexual misconduct were covered up all the way to the Prime Minister's office. The Liberals should have learned by now that the truth eventually comes out, but the only thing that matters is protecting the Trudeau brand. Yesterday, the Ethics Commissioner issued 2 reports. There is the Trudeau 3 report. 3 because it's the 3rd time he's being investigated. And then there's the Morneau 2 report. The former finance minister was found to have violated 3 sections of the Conflict of Interest Act when he helped his friend, Craig Kielburger. Now, I'm not going to defend Bill Morneau. He broke the rules, and he resigned in disgrace. He joins the ranks of Jody Wilson-Raybould and Jane Philpott as ministers martyred for the Trudeau brand. But I will say it is interesting that the Ethics Commissioner actually wrote that he was expanding the definition of friend in order to capture the relationship between Morneau and Craig Kielburger. Meanwhile, the same commissioner wrote that Trudeau's decision to approve the WE contract was not a breach because Trudeau and the Kielburgers do not have a personal relationship. Even though that report says Trudeau participated in 8 WE Day events starting in 2007. His spouse was an honorary ambassador for WE. She hosted her own WE-related podcast and attended 8 WE Day events. And Trudeau's mother and brother participated in paid activities for WE. Here's a picture of them all hanging out together. The Trudeaus and the Kielburgers are practically joined at the hip. But apparently that's not enough for the commissioner to conclude it was improper to award We Charity $1 billion taxpayer dollars. Speaking of huge wastes of taxpayer dollars, the CBC has lost its lawsuit against the Conservative Party of Canada. Now, you may recall during the last election, the CBC announced they were suing the Conservative Party for using short news clips in election ads. Well, all parties going back years used short news clips in their election ads. But this was the first time any media outlet had sued any party for the use of those clips. This was a clear partisan attack by the CBC in the middle of an election. They should be investigated by Elections Canada for electoral interference. The goal of the CBC was to silence Conservatives. They sent letters to the party demanding the ad be taken down or else they'd sue. Well, the party took down the ad and the CBC sued anyway. Now that Trudeau's government is literally paying the wages of journalists, Canadians can be sure more and more of our media will come to look just like the Liberal CBC. Bill C-10 is another part of the Trudeau agenda to co-opt Canadian media into the Trudeau brand machine. Yesterday, we learned the Trudeau Liberals are abandoning support for net neutrality. Now, if you've never heard the term before, it means that companies like Bell and Rogers cannot charge different rates for data sent across their networks, and they can't discriminate based on the content of the data. Now, a few years back, there was a huge debate in the United States over the issue of net neutrality. When the media started claiming Trump was going to end net neutrality, Justin Trudeau made sure media know he would stand up for net neutrality. So when the bad orange man opposed net neutrality, Justin Trudeau supported it. Well, he supported it until he lost seats in Quebec in the last election. Now he has appointed the ex-convict Steven Guilbeault to be his Minister of Censorship. This week, in an interview with the Toronto Star, Guilbeault said those criticizing Bill C-10, quote, believe in this concept of net neutrality. Those people, however, whatever we do, whatever amendments we bring to C-10, won't be happy because they don't want regulations, end quote. Net neutrality is not a conservative, liberal issue. It's not even a big business versus consumer issue. 99% of big businesses would oppose ending net neutrality. The only people who had supported ending net neutrality are the executives at Bell and Rogers. Now, that includes the Trudeau Liberals. Speaking of crazy quotes from the Minister of Censorship, here's another one. Quote, what we want to do, this law should apply to people who are broadcasters or act like broadcasters. So if you have a YouTube channel with millions of viewers and you're deriving revenues from that, then at some point, the CRTC will be asked to put a threshold, end quote. So all last week, the Liberals tried to trick Canadians. They said the changes to Bill C-10 would not affect content posted by individuals. Now, they say if you can get enough viewers, then it will apply to you. They just can't keep their lies straight. Every time the Minister for Censorship tries to defend his bill, he ends up revealing the true motivation. They want to control what you see. They want to regulate what you hear. They want to promote some content and demote other content. That's their goal. Bill C-10 is a violation of the freedom of expression and freedom of speech. The government keeps claiming it's fine because they have a memo written by lawyers at the Justice Department who said it's fine. Recently, I told you about how the Liberals were amending the Election Act using their budget bill. The Liberals had removed a single word in the Elections Act a few years ago. They took out the word knowingly from the part of the Elections Act, which makes it a crime to make an untrue statement about a politician to impact an election. Well, the judge took one look at that change and said it was clearly unconstitutional. So the very same lawyers that now say that C-10 is fine said removing the word knowingly was fine. Even a Liberal MP made news this week after he said what every person already knew. Justice Department lawyers make mistakes. It's just a coincidence that those mistakes always line up with what the government wants. Maybe somebody at Elections Canada should look into seeing if the CBC knowingly launched a sham lawsuit in order to silence Conservatives. Well, that's all the time we have today. Defense Committee is coming up at 1. Live from Ottawa, this is Cheryl Gallant wishing you a good night.